What's going on, peeps? It's your favorite speedster here, and today we are going to be discussing the keys to success for Battlefield 6, what we learned and experienced from the beta, the pros and cons of what we witnessed in the beta, and how basically Battlefield 6 can improve itself once it launches or over time after the launch. So yeah, we're going to be basically diving into that today with this video, and apologize for not uploading as much these past few weeks, as a lot of things have been going on recently. Most notably, our AC in the house for where I live has basically been out of commission. So if you hear any weird noise in the background, it's because I have a lot of fans and portable ACs going on, and they're scattered all throughout the house. So I apologize for the noise in the background, as yeah, that occurred, and I'm basically going to have to pivot and work with what I got within this video. But other than that, we are going to dive more deep into what we experienced in the beta and what Battlefield 6 can do to improve itself to be potentially one of the best FPSs that has come out within the past year. So without further ado, let's do it. Alright, first we're going to be talking about the pros of the beta and what the game basically did right, or the new mechanics that it added to the game that basically makes it more better and more enjoyable. And I'm not going to be talking about the obvious features or pros of them adding back a scoreboard and stuff like that, because to be honest, those would be things that should be already in the game, and the fact that they didn't do that in games like 2042 was really embarrassing. So yeah, we're not going to just dive into that really. Basically, we're going to be talking about some of the new things and some of what made the game more fun overall, or the beta more fun, excuse me. So the first thing is the revive mechanic. I liked how they implemented the new revive mechanic, where you can basically are able to revive your teammates, but you can also move them around to get them out of the line of fire basically, and put them behind cover. And yeah, I think that's a really solid mechanic that low-key should have been in past Battlefield games, to be honest. But it's very good that they added this into this beta, and hopefully it will stick around within the launch of the game, as it basically changes up the dynamic, and won't put people sitting idly when trying to revive somebody, and gives them better gameplay maneuver basis. So yeah, that's the first pro. I think that's a great change that they added in, and yeah, I can't wait to see how that goes. The next one that we're going to be talking about is, of course, the environment destruction. I think the environment destruction is pretty good. It can be worked on a little bit more, as when you destroy an environment, destroy a building or whatever, it's cool, it has nice good spectacle and everything, but how it used to work in past Battlefield games, Battlefield 4 specifically, is once you destroyed an environment, you basically if an enemy is inside the building and you destroy it with a tank or RPG and stuff like that, the building will crumble and also kill the players inside of it, which at times that happened in the beta, but most of the time the enemies would still be alive even when a whole building or a part of the building is destroyed. So I wish they would fine-tune that a little bit, but for the most part the environment destruction seems pretty solid. I have no gripes there, and yeah, just a little bit more fine-tunement and it should be pretty good. The next pro we're going to talk about is the class system. Finally, they have brought back the class system. I know they brought it back in 2042, but it seems like they're really going back to the basics of adding a solid assault, engineer, recon, things of that nature, medic class, which fans have been asking for, including myself, for a long time, and they finally got it right. And yeah, it's basically about time that they add this back into the game, as I don't know what they were trying to do with the operators and stuff in 2042. Basically nobody asked for that in 2042, which is probably one of its the biggest issues that came with the game, and which led to its downfall. So I'm glad they brought it back to basics and added a solid class system. The next thing we're going to be talking about is the movement, and it's basically similar to how Omni movement is in Black Ops 6, which is a nice surprise, to be honest. You're able to move sideways, able to like dive backwards and dive forwards, and it just basically change your direction, your movement. And it's kind of a nice change of pace, to be honest. I kind of liked the new movement system, and I'm glad there's no tag sprint, because to be honest, the tag sprint really I didn't see the purpose of tag sprint in games like Call of Duty or like 2042, to be honest. So I'm glad there's no like tag sprint, because really this game doesn't really need tag sprint. It's like gone for years without tag sprint, so I'm glad they've taken that out. But who knows, they may add it as like a option within the settings where you can like enable tag sprint or not, but who knows. But yeah, I like the solid movement. You're able to like offer more variety to your gameplay with the movement, and it's a nice change of pace, to be honest. I've found myself like doing crazy kills, crazy plays just from the movement alone. So I'm glad they really fine-tuned the movement system. So yeah, hopefully they keep that in the game. Alright, our next thing on the agenda is the game modes. Even though not every game mode in this game is not like my particular favorite or something that I have to like come back to, but the ones that I've tested out within the beta have been pretty fun. With the King of the Hill, Team Deathmatch, Breakthrough especially was pretty much fun, as I had a lot of fun like playing that one. Sure, it could get sweaty at times depending on like what type of team you have and the enemy team, and can get sweaty, I will admit that. But so far those game modes have been pretty much fun to be playing, especially with Breakthrough, like I said, as it goes more, it's kind of like Rush in a sense, but it's I don't know, it's just like something about the flow of it, the aggressive like nature of like you actually have to like break through the enemy's defensive position to get the kills, and you have like get reinforcements and stuff. Like, I just like how it flows, how it plays for the most part. And yeah, the game modes seem pretty much fun. Hopefully they'll like experiment a little bit more with the game modes once it launches, as I'm not sure how that's gonna go. And also the squad deathmatch stuff too, that was pretty fun too. I forgot about that. But yeah, the game modes have been pretty much fun to play, and I'm curious to see how they are gonna like experiment with that once the game launches and after the game launches, with like updates, more content and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. And the next thing we're going to be talking about with the pros are the modern grounded aesthetic, which has been a staple basically at this point with like games like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. I like that they're bringing it back to like the grounded side of like the modern warfare type of setting and theme, which I think has been like the bread and butter of like Battlefield as from its inception. Of course, like it does good when it tackles things like World War I, World War II and stuff like that type of setting and era, but I think most of the fans have always like gravitated towards like the modern setting, as like a lot of people can relate to it because it's like it mirrors what's going on today. So yeah, I'm glad that they brought it back to the modern grounded aesthetic for the most part, and that hopefully they don't go the Call of Duty route and like add ridiculous skins, which I'm pretty sure they've stated that they're not going to do, and they're like keeping it realistic. And I like that. I like it when a game basically kind of takes itself serious and not like goes overboard with it. Because even though with like 2042, with the operators, even though it's not like everybody's cup of tea, they still kept it grounded with like the skins that they added. And that's what thing I like about Battlefield, is like they don't try to go overboard with microtransactions. Well, the microtransaction practice is still kind of weird, but at least with that game they still kept it a little bit more grounded and real. So yeah, that's a good thing. And last but not least, there's the gadgets and the perks. And strangely enough, I know, like, of course the gadgets and there's like gadgets and perks with like the class system as before, but the gadgets and perks in this game were really low-key overpowered, especially with the assault class. Like, that was been my favorite one to run in the beta, with the added shotgun that you can use as like a basically like an overkill perk, which was hella fun to use. I've gotten so many clips with that. So yeah, then you got like engineer, where you can basically equip 2 rocket launchers, which is overpowered. You have medic, where you can basically just revive people at it instantly, and just like it's crazy, dude. And then recon perk, where you can basically you're basically like a mini UAV, where you can basically, or you have like, I wouldn't say wall hacks, but you can basically pinpoint enemies as soon as you see them, and they can ping them on the map for other teammates on your team to like see and actually get, you know, help out and stuff like that. So I like the gadgets and the perks in this game. They really are, you know, overpowered in their own way, but it's kind of like a balance between each of them. Sure, there can be some things that can be fine-tuned with these gadgets and perks, but for the most part, they seem, you know, pretty balanced in their own way. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the pros. And now we're gonna get into the mix category. Alright, now in terms of the mix category, these are going to be things that I'm mostly mixed on within the beta. Like, I can see the good in like some of the things they added or changed within the beta, but at the same time, I'm not too sure about how it would affect the launch. And there's only going to be like 2 things that I'm mixed about, so I'm going to try to keep it brief and short. The first thing that I'm mixed about is the open weapon system. Now, I admire it for like, you know, kind of going the route of Battlefield 4, where you had designated weapons in each class, but you also had the option to like equip like a DMR, a shotgun, or a carbine, you know. But instead of that, you basically in the open weapon system can pick any weapon you want within either class. And even though that sounds good on paper, to be honest, it's kind of, you know, weird in a way where it's like it doesn't offer, you know, no uniqueness, if that makes sense. Like with each class you had a like unique set of weapons, and it offered, you know, a type of certain play style for like each class, whether if it was assault, engineer, because you basically had to like be assigned to that class and use that specific weapon to that class, which offered it, you know, a unique perspective of like what type of soldier, you know, you were going to play as. And with the open weapon system, it's not a bad idea, but I don't know if that will like translate well with the launch of the game, as you know, it doesn't really, like I said, offer anything interesting in a sense. My advice is like, if they were going to actually, no, I'll say that for the fixes and improvements. But yeah, I'm mixed about that. And then 2, the map design. Even though the map designs, the maps and stuff like that are pretty like cool for the most part, there's certain designs and stuff where I think they should like fine tune it, as like there's this like 3-lane thing that they're trying to do. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, sure, there's like plenty of like cover and stuff, different type of flows, different ways you can attack enemies or like flank and stuff like that, but I don't know, the map design, to me, there's some points of some of these map designs that kind of feel a little samey, or just don't offer enough, you know, gameplay wise to make it stand out, if that makes sense. So yeah, the map design, even though it's not bad, it still needs a little work. And that's basically what I'm gonna like comment on in terms of the mixed category. And next we're gonna move on to the cons. Alright, now we're at the cons section, and these are basically not going to be, oh, these are things that I hated about the beta, because basically there's really no issues that I hated about the game. Sure, there's some things that are annoying, but these are things that I'm going to be mostly talking about of what the game was lacking within the, or the beta was lacking, sorry, as I was playing it and what I was like experiencing, and hopefully that the developers can hopefully improve on. So yeah, the first con is there is not enough large maps, and pretty much all the maps that we played on the beta were pretty much small to medium range, with medium range being the max. Sure, there's some maybe 1 or 2 maps that are a little larger than others, but for the most part, these are like small to medium maps. And the fact that there's like not like a big large map, which I can understand why they didn't they decided not to add them into the beta, and plus with the previous track record of 2042, how big those maps were, I can understand them trying to be more on the safe side, but I was kind of hoping to experience at least one or two large maps on a grand scale of what Battlefield 1 or some maps in Battlefield 4, 3 and stuff like that. So, which I know there's more maps coming within the launch. I think also Operation Firestorm, some of those maps are coming to the game as well, which I can't wait to play those. But yeah, I just didn't think they had enough of large maps to make it feel like an all-out warfare as other games in the past, other Battlefields in the past have done. So yeah, that's the first con, is there's not enough large maps. And the second one, to kind of coincide with these, there are not enough vehicles. I don't know why there's not enough vehicles. Again, I can probably understand because this is a beta and they want to see how things would go with the beta with just a few vehicles. But if there's not enough vehicles and stuff when the launch happens, I think Battlefield 6 might be in a tight spot, because that's basically one of the foundations of Battlefield, is having an assortment of vehicles. And the last thing that people want to complain about is how these maps basically don't have enough vehicles and stuff like that. And with these vehicles, you need to have large maps, because that's also part of the thing. Is with large maps gives you more options to have more vehicles. And so the fact that we barely have enough vehicles is kind of weird and kind of disheartening, but hopefully in the beta they'll fix that, or add in more larger maps to fix that problem. So yeah, that's the second con. The third one I wanted to address is the vehicle handling. I don't know what it is with some of these vehicles, especially the jet and the air vehicles, the jet and the chopper. Some reason they just feel weird to maneuver. Sorry for the voice crack, but yeah, the handling on those vehicles just seem weird. And also with some of the ground vehicles, I think I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, and when I was playing the beta, is sometimes the turns that you do with some of these vehicles are just feel too stiff, or I don't have enough control over it. I wish the vehicle handling was kind of like Battlefield 4, where you basically had all autonomy, had a nice control of the vehicles, which I'll talk about later in the fixes and improvements. But yeah, the vehicle handling in this beta was kind of trash, and I hope they really fix that for sure. The next thing on the list is the visual character clarity. Now what I mean by that is it's kind of hard to tell which class either on my team or on the other team I'm going up against, or who's on my team, with the designs of the characters, as there's nothing really about the designs that stand out of oh, this is a medic, oh, this is an engineer, oh, this is a recon class, because back in the previous game you had some distinction, or some you had designs where you could clearly tell what character who was what. And with this game it's kind of hard to make that out, because the character designs kind of seem the same, and I wish they could probably tune that as well, go back to the drawing board and create some more designs that seem more unique, but yet still grounded in a way that offers distinction between, oh, this is such and such, oh, I'm going up against a recon, oh, I'm going up against the you know what I mean? So hopefully they'll do that. But yeah, they need to definitely refine that. And then last but not least, the gameplay pace, which kind of goes intertwined with the maps and stuff like that. It's the gameplay pace seems a little too fast, as there be times where I'm trying to snipe as a recon, and just people are the game is moving so fast, people are killing each other so fast, the kill time is kind of too quick and stuff like that. It's the pace is just so fast. I can barely have time to breathe sometimes, because I'm trying to shoot one person, then another person spawns in, then another person, and all that stuff, and there's a whole squad of players, what I'm saying, everybody's coming through, rushing in and stuff like that, which is not bad. It offers different variety than what the usual Battlefield experience, but I think it can tone that down a bit, especially like I said, with them adding in more large maps, that the pace will start to balance itself out a little bit, so that you can have maps that are like more fast paced and you have maps that are more slower paced and stuff like that. But hopefully they don't take it to the extreme of like what other games did, like COD Ghosts or what 2042 and stuff like that. Games like that did, where you have these big maps with no pace at all, have a slow ass pace. It's just like, hopefully they don't take it to that extreme, but just have that nice little balance. So now, to finally end off this video, we're going to talk about the fixes and improvements that the game can do to make it better when it gets to launch and after launch. Alright, so we are at the final segment, which is the fixes and improvements. And these are basically the keys to success that Battlefield 6 can have if they do this right and if they execute it right. So the first one in the fixes / improvements list is improving the vehicle handling. And they should, like I said, make it to where it's like Battlefield 4, where things flow nicely, you have complete control and autonomy. You know, things shouldn't be stiff. If it's like that type of vehicle handling, then I'm all aboard using vehicles and stuff like that. Because I think, in my opinion, that game had the best vehicle handling within the whole Battlefield franchise. So yeah, if it's up to that standard, then I think Battlefield 6 has a shot of being, you know, one of the great games of this year. So definitely improve the vehicle handling. And also include something like the battle range or something like that. Shooting range, sorry. Have something like the shooting range, like it did in Battlefield 4 as well, where you can also, you know, test out, use vehicles to get a feel for it, so you can practice it and stuff. Like, they already have like a shooting range, but also have like a vehicle range within the game. As I think that can make the difference. So yeah, that's the first one. Second one, like I said, better character design for visual clarity and just for the overall aesthetic, you know, because like people want to look cool, people want to look like a cool soldier and want to be like distinctive within their class, you know what I'm saying? So, and you can also add, for the character design, you can also add, you know, unlockable, not microtransaction, but unlockable skins or whatever for when you like to level up your class or just level up in general. You can add something like that. I think that would be a cool idea. For every time you rank up your class or you just level up in general, you unlock a new skin, stuff like that for your class. So I think that would be a pretty cool improvement or fix for the character designs, because, you know, people want to look cool. You know, that's just the thing in general. Just people want to look cool, especially in video games. So yeah, the third point, add in larger maps, add more in, just like also add some variety to the maps. But yeah, mostly add in larger maps just to change up the pace, you know what I'm saying, instead of always playing small to medium maps, because that's what basically what I think Black Ops 6 did, and people literally got tired of just like playing like so like the fast, like playing, just changing up the pace and not playing at the same pace on every map, you know what I'm saying. Give that a little bit of diversity and change it up a little bit. So yeah, definitely add in more larger maps to make it feel like a Battlefield. Next point is refining the map designs, as I said before, for better gameplay pace and for the aesthetic, because, you know what I'm saying, previous Battlefield games had a certain aesthetic to it, especially in Battlefield 1, where you literally traveled all across the world and you literally could tell by like the different, you know, aesthetic, different settings, the different, you know what I'm saying, cities that you were like fighting in. Like, give us something like that, basically. Give that type of map design where it's distinct and has a good pace to play on. So definitely refine the map designs. And the next point I'll say is add more vehicles. That's kind of a no-brainer with the larger maps. If you add more larger maps, or even for the smaller or more medium maps, just you can add more vehicles to that as well and stuff like that. Sure, there could be some maps where you don't have vehicles and stuff like that, but still add more vehicles. You know, that's part of like Battlefield in general. Is like you get to use vehicles for the majority of the time and stuff like that. Not every time, but just like the majority of the time you're using vehicles. So add more vehicles. Next one is mostly for the open weapon system that I talked about earlier. And what I was gonna say is they could low-key use what they did in Battlefield 4, the weapon system in that one, where you can still have your distinct, weapon class and stuff like that, but you can also have, the option to choose like a carbine, a shotgun, or a DMR. You know what I'm saying? I think they should implement that system instead of the open weapon system, as the open weapon system, like I said, doesn't really add anything unique to it. You could basically just pick any weapon within your class, and that kind of ruins the point of Battlefield in a sense. So definitely they should give that some thought of using that system from Battlefield 4 instead of the open weapon system. The next thing, the second to last thing that I'll talk about is adding in better levolution. You know what I'm saying? I guess also they could, like I said, refine the destruction in Battlefield, but definitely adding in more levolution, as I think that's become a staple in Battlefield in general. It's like some of like the cinematic levolutions, or some of the like the groundbreaking moments of like what in Battlefield 1, where you shot down that big what's that thing called, the big like balloon in the sky. You guys know what I'm talking about. I know what the word is, but I forgot it. I can't think of it right now. Or when you like destroy a train, or you destroy a massive warship. Like they could add stuff like that into the game, as I think that would give it. It's basically like a staple at this point to add in big, dynamic moments like that, especially with the levolution in like Battlefield 4. So I think they should definitely add more stuff like that in, as fans like me have always wanted to see something massive happening while on the battlefield for the most part. So yeah, definitely add in levolution. And last but not least, bring back fan favorite game modes, especially like operations from Battlefield 1. I don't know why they never brought that back, but I think Battlefield 6 can definitely benefit from a game mode like operations, where you basically fight. You could do not even internationally, something like you could do it domestically, like within the US, or if you want to go, you can do it internationally, but that will bring a whole new type of scope to the game of adding something like operations, as it changes up, not only changes up the play style, but it gives more players option to not just play always conquest, rush, breakthrough, but just like bring back those fan favorite game modes, as those game modes tendently were stood out within games like Battlefield 1, and many people would appreciate that coming back into a game like Battlefield 6. You know what I'm saying? Imagine that type of scale put in modern times. You know what I'm saying? So I think they should definitely bring that back for Battlefield 6. So yeah, that's basically been my review and / criticism for the beta, the Battlefield 6 beta. As again, I had a massively good time playing the beta, especially with my friends, as you can tell by the videos that I've made from the beta. And I'm genuinely excited to see where this game goes. I really want this game to launch, with great reviews, especially with Black Ops 7 coming a month after this game launches. And yeah, I just want to see it do good. I want Battlefield 6 to bring back that competition between Call of Duty and Battlefield, as I think that competition can help Call of Duty get out of the stupid place that they're in right now. As at this point, I've been checked out of Call of Duty for so long, dude. I tried to give it a chance with some of the recent entries like Cold War and stuff like that, but it's like every time I see gameplay, every time I hear something about it, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And it's a former shell of itself at this point. But I'm glad to see Battlefield 6 is doing the opposite and actually listening to people in the community. And it looks like we're finally getting a genuinely good Battlefield game. So hopefully, if the developers or anybody is watching this, hopefully they'll take these points that I've said within the video, take it constructively, and just like, refine the system, and hopefully the launch will go very good. As again, I want this game to do good, dude, because I low-key need me a good FPS game, a good FPS multiplayer experience again, dude. I've been like craving for that. I've been mostly enjoying playing single player games and stuff like that, but I've been low-key waiting for a game like this to come, and it seems like we might be getting a good game, but we'll just have to wait and see until the launch to really declare it a good game, and if it can like stand on its two legs after the launch. So yeah, man. But yeah, without further ado, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to be uploading more soon, trust me. Just, I had to deal with some things in my personal life that, kind of helped up me making videos for the past few weeks, but I will be uploading more. I'm definitely going to be finishing up the Elden Ring playthrough, if you guys have been tuning into that, so please check that out if you haven't. I'm going to be finishing up that soon, and hopefully we'll finish the DLC for that. And then after that, I'm probably going to be making videos on something like Hollow Knight and the new Silk Song game that came out recently. As I've been wanting to experience that for a minute. I played a little bit of it, but I never got to experience the whole thing, so definitely I might put that on the channel. And yeah, just stay tuned for more videos coming up soon. And in terms of Battlefield 2042, I know I said I was thinking about making a road to Battlefield 6 with that, but like I said, things got in the way, so I might post some Battlefield 2042, and if I don't, then it's no big deal, as I think people are like burnt out with Battlefield 2042, and I don't blame them really. So yeah, just stay tuned for more content coming. And yeah, I want to thank you guys again so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe down below, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Got a juice.